The 13th of the 9th, 2025. The time, of course, is 25 minutes past 8, meaning, as always, as far as F1 news and updates, that there are very many F1-centric threads at which we need to pull. Carlos Sainz has had his verdict overturned. The FIA taking 2 seats for once. We're talking about Qatar danger. Stefano Domenicali responding in kind to the risk posed to the drivers when they race over there, that part of the world. Toto, the boy who cried wolf on Sir Lewis Hamilton, has said a couple things about his legacy and how he'll be remembered at the altar of Scuderia Ferrari underperformance. So too, we'll talk about Maximilian Verstappen, his performance today, getting himself the DMSB permit that he so needs and requires to do 24-hour Nordschleife races proper in quicker cars. GT3 102. We'll talk about Bobby Epstein, Cotabod, talking about Cadillac, that they won't be the last of the late breakers next year, that they won't be back markers, that potentially Cadillac F1, notwithstanding them being noobs on the grid, can get something done. So too, in the final incident, as your main event, mention no names, Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. We'll talk about Helmut Marko appraising for the one that they call Laura Mekies and his hot hand start, and indeed reappraising by extension for Christian Horner's tenure over at the Bulls that are red, or Christian Horner, Bull Racing. Michael, you're a legend. Z, Jomo back in the house, John K, Nando, Michael. We're meant to go long today, but your boys, I don't know, we'll see where it goes. Inevitably, once we start talking F1, it will always get techie in the first instance. I need to share this. Toto's talked about Sir Lewis, as he has been at the moment. I feel like Toto's got verbal diarrhea at the moment. He keeps talking about Max Verstappen and negotiating, that he wants him, but he wants George. What is going on? Now, on this occasion, Toto said something about Lewis Hamilton that I think is quite damning. Disrespectful, chaos, dragon, settings. Here's what Toto said. 2 sentences I'm going to read out to you, stanzas even. Quote, I thought that was wrong of Lewis to say how useless he was. I told him about it that evening, and again the next day. He speaks his emotion, and that makes him the superstar he is. Praise. This feels like an SH1T burger of a compliment from Toto incoming. However, in the next stanza, this is what he says, and this is where it gets techier than techie things. Toto says of Sir Lewis, he's going to retire, quote, nobody's ever going to know that he was at Ferrari at the end. Who thinks about Michael Schumacher and his time at Mercedes? That isn't relevant for Michael Schumacher's career. Oh, the humanity. Now, I understand that English isn't Toto, the boy who cried wolf's first language. I get it. And sometimes the sentiment is lost in translation. But do you understand what you're saying, Toto? That no one will remember Lewis Hamilton's tenure at Scuderia Ferrari season to date is something very different from what he said there. That Lewis Hamilton will retire and nobody will remember his time at Ferrari means, therefore, that you think his entire stint at Ferrari will be a failure. Oh, the humanity, chat. What are we doing here? This is sacrilege, blasphemy of the highest order. You're meaning to tell me, Toto, that inbuilt in your stanza, you're talking extemporaneously, is the assumption that things won't get better with Sir Lewis at Scuderia Ferrari. Now, listen. In all probability, I don't want to agree with Toto, but I think it's not the most unlikely probability as far as eventualities are concerned. Lest we forget, 40 years old, there are not too many F1 drivers in the modern day era who have run races at that age, let alone championships or older. 3 in F1 history at 40 years old or older. It's Farina in 50. It's Fangio when his last won in 57. It's Jack Brabham in 66. Who were the last people to win at 39 years or older? It was Prost going all the way back to 1993 for Pete's sake. Mansell won at 39 in 1992. Who have won? Which drivers have won at that age races? Damien Hill was quite old, right? 38 maybe in 1990s. It's something like that. But I mean, I say all that to say this. It's hard to win when you have the perfect set of circumstances at that age in a young man's game filled full of hungry young lions, let alone when you're dealing, as Sir Lewis is, with the trauma of 2-1, with all of the chaos that's going on at Ferrari. You heard Martin come out today and said when he was working at Ferrari that they had all of the technology, but what they lacked for was a god-tier F1 mind, a strategic bod who could put their hand out and see whether it was raining, who could pay attention to the circumstances on track in real time and make some decisions that matter. Scuderia Ferrari have denied themselves, have continued to seize in perpetuity defeat from the jaws of victory at the altar of a couple different things, but a lack of innovation is principal among them. They don't want to make a decision for fear of putting their head above the parapet and getting sacked for it. They stifle innovation over there at Fiorano Maranello, the Scuderia Ferrari, the red car with the yellow badge and black prancing Corsa atop. And I only say that to say this. The hill up which Lewis will need to climb is now steeper than it ever has. But it was steep at the start of the season when we were talking about Instagram posts, and it was Lewis with a picture and a 7 open windows and a 1 closed door, etc. Pathetic fallacy and metaphor settings. It was genius. It was God tier, the symbiosis of brand Lewis Hamilton and Scuderia Ferrari. But now that we see exactly the extent of the Scuderia Ferrari ineptitude, that it's across the board, that they haven't built a car, that Charles is unhappy, that Frederick Vasseur only just got extended because Charles Leclerc and all the C-suite exec level bods wanted to sign themselves another team principal but had no other option. Now that you see how all pervasive the ineptitude of Scuderia Ferraris, you understand the hill up which Lewis Hamilton would have had to climb to get himself his first for Scuderia Ferrari and his 8th Drivers' Championship for himself. Whereas before it was here, now it's here, perpendicular to the ground settings. Oh, and by the way, the one that they call Stefano Domenicali, head of the FIA or the F1 even commercial rights holder settings, he's come out and he said something about Qatar, which I think is interesting, given the geopolitical circumstance at the moment and how tenuous it is in its balance. This is pertinent because you recall a couple of years ago they went over to Saudi Arabia, I want to say, maybe it was Qatar, I can't remember which, and there was a bloody bomb going off in the background while the likes of Lewis and Maximilian Verstappen were putting in qualifying sessions and or free practice. Do you know what I mean? Youthy rebels and that. Here's what Stefano Domenicali says, again, at the altar of keeping our drivers' chariots of fire settings safe. Stefano Domenicali says of the geopolitical circumstance that it is very tragic, very difficult, he told The Observer when discussing the recent conflict. He says, we are monitoring the situation very closely, but we are not in a situation today where we can say that it is a concern whether the race will go ahead or not. We hope that sport will bring good positivity. Listen to me, let me tell you this. Cash rules everything around me. See you, Sir John Perry, F1. Listen, that's all that matters. You've nailed it, sir. The timeliness of your comment is perfect. All that anybody cares about in Formula One is monetization, financial resource, such that when all that chaos was going off in the background, literally cars were going around the track and you could see plumes of smoke in the background. Nobody cared. The drivers all wanted to go home, abandon ship, do you know what I mean? And they were warned then, just as the WWE superstars were when similar circumstance happened to them. Well, you can leave here, but good luck getting out to the airports. That's what they were told. This is the type of area in which we're operating. That race will go ahead. Stefano Domenicali understands that there is a contract. All of the sports, all of the final resources in sports at the moment is emanating out of that part of the world. Sports washing, you might call it. Riyadh season is a thing. You see what's going on with golf at the moment, and F1 is no different. Stefano Domenicali, stop paying this thing lip service. So you will race in Qatar. You absolutely will. Don't be silly. Don't do the performative thing. Don't pay lip service to action that you will not take. Oh, and by the way, I need to show you guys something. This is chaos. I've seen a couple of things here. Let's talk about Maximilian Verstappen now. Max Verstappen glaze incoming. This was earlier today. You saw this dude just getting on with business. Right, let's Everybody else is sleeping yet, and this dude is competing. So he raced today. He got his 14 laps in a very slow car, 130 something brake horsepower down on the rest in his category. Weightier car, and he gets it. Then ultimately all he needed to do was the 14 laps in order to get his license proper to race some proper cars. Here's again him coming out. Now, I only show you those things to say this. It's important that you understand the extent of the Max Verstappen tide and how it floats all motorsport boats. Now, not just F1. Again, you got to speak to Red Bull and the fact that they extend Maximilian Verstappen, a four-time champion, the asset, the jewel in their F1 crown, that they extend him sufficient grace and liberty to partake in other motorsport formula. Lest we forget, potentially Max will be at Mercedes in a not too distant future of 2027 maybe. I'm not sure Toto will extend Max the same grace then. It's techie, this. And again, the F1 world and motorsport world more globally, more broadly even, looks at Max Verstappen and realises by dint of today's events that Max Verstappen is who you think he is. He's a racing man's racer. That has to stand for something. He shuns all of the adornment, the glitz and glam that so comes and accompanies the world that is F1. All of the financial resource. Of course, he's going to negotiate himself a triple-digit million-figure contract with his next team. Of course he is, because he deserves it. But all of the trappings that comes with, he shuns. All he wants to do is race. And again, you see it today when Nürburgring and their YouTube channel and all other YouTube channels live streaming this did one of these. It was chaos settings because all of the F1 fans, Maximilian Verstappen supporters and mainstream casuals, people who'd never be watching this race 7 at the Nordschleife. Nobody cared apart from when Max Verstappen is involved. Here's what Max said, or Verstappen.com, how they reported it. The Max Verstappen obtains his DMSB permit for the Nordschleife. Amazing to contest the 24-hour race here. 24th of September, some say that's when this might happen. The article reads something like this, quote, Max Verstappen achieved his goal during the ADAC Nürburgring Langstreckenserie, the NLS 7, race number 7, this weekend by obtaining his DMSB permit Nordschleife, meaning that the Dutchman can now participate in GT3 races at the legendary Nürburgring Nordschleife, such as his famous 24-hour racing. That has always been in the offing in Max Verstappen's ambitions and aspirations. Despite this busy schedule, the four-time F1 world champion is fueled by his passion for racing to contest endurance races on iconic circuits across the world. Max Verstappen says, quote, I'm happy it all went smoothly, that I got my DMSB permit Nordschleife. I really enjoyed myself, but that's always the case around here. It was good, quote, to drive stints in the race with traffic. And again, he's got to contend with all these chaos merchants, right? People in quicker cars, and like, there's no blue flag, so you got to check your mirrors and make sure you stay on the race. Like, all this chaos, it's chaos. Watching it earlier and streaming it with you guys, I couldn't even wrap my head around it. But Max Verstappen says that's always the case. It was good to drive stints in the race with traffic, both with faster and slower cars. There was also a code 60 race neutralisation, double waved yellows and a standard yellow flag. I drove in the wet, the dry and in mixed conditions. Max says, I've gained experience in where the grip is and isn't, and completed a start procedure. It was really good to gain more experience on this circuit. There was a damp track, it was wet, it was dries. He got some time, and his quickest time around the track was a 9:01.410 in the restricted GT4, handing over shortly thereafter duties to his mate Chris. Got in the car and nailed it, but had to pitch shortly thereafter. It's interesting, this. I don't hate Max Verstappen. Honestly, the way that this dude is performing and going on, nobody can declare that this dude is not a racing man's racer. So, John, you're a legend. I was up at 4:30 a.m. to watch that. Wouldn't be doing that for anyone other than Cam Street. You're a legend, John. I appreciate you, man. I didn't even intend to do it. We might have to do it again tomorrow, impromptu. So, John, if indeed he manages to get himself in a GT3 car, as is rumoured. Oh, and by the way, let me share it. I've got to show you this. I watched this. I was like, I need to share this. This is absolute chaos. Proper chaos merchantry. Let me show you this. In fact, let's address this. I saw this being bandied round on the Reddits, and it made me reticent. It made me very nostalgic on who Fernando Alonso once was. I recall in 2005-2006 having vanquished the legendary Red Baron, the Reagan Meister, the original one, that's Michael Schumacher, into the distance, off into retirement. Everybody thought that this fella on the right of your screen was going to be the next one, the Terminator, the most relentless competitor, the fastest F1 driver in the grid. And I think all of those monikers were fair and just timely, even. That everybody thought Fernando Alonso, having won 2 championships back to back in 05 and 06, was going to run along and win another 4 or 5 or 6. Do you know what I mean? Ultimately, when all was said and done, he'd be competing with Michael Schumacher. Maybe he'd win 8. And the only reason why I say that is to say this, that the sliding doors, dependent on your decisions in F1, are fleeting. Had Fernando made better decisions, maybe he'd have 5 championships to his name as far as which team he joined at what time. It felt like for a long time Fernando made the right decisions at the wrong time, and just like tyres, you need to be on the right tyre, right team at the right time. Fernando didn't do it, and the only reason why I say that, chat, is to say this: Max Verstappen is about to embark upon a very critical 12 months, not as far as next year, because I don't think Red Bull will have the car next year. He could take that one to the bank, but as far as his decision making, pervade that environment in 2026, brand new rules and regs, and then make a decision. What he can't afford to do is follow in his old mate / mentor's footsteps, Fernando Alonso, and make a wrong decision. Why? Because here's what's at stake. Currently, Max sits on 4 championships. The difference in making a good decision or a bad one at this juncture will lead to him being talked about alongside the likes of Michael and Lewis in statistical terms, both of whom are market leading on 7 championships, or whether he sits on 4 championships alongside the likes of Alan, behind Juan Manuel Fangio on 5. It's techie, this, chat. It is techie. It's really important as far as the juncture that Max Verstappen finds himself at this point in his career. Because I don't want in 10 years' time to look back on Maximilian Verstappen and the preceding 10 years as if it was a waste of time, as if because I didn't get to see Max in the good cars again and get to see him fulfill his not insubstantial potential. Because I feel like when all is said and done, on the epitaph that is Fernando Alonso's career, man from Oviedo, Asturias, it will be exactly that. Seized somehow with frequency, defeat from the jaws of victory at each and every single juncture by dint of the poor low-level decisions that he made. Wrong team, wrong time, or right team, wrong time. Just made some bad decisions. Oh, and by the way, I need to show you guys this. I put up on this again. F1 Reddit, techier than techie things. Benetton were a chaos team. You only need to see how Fabio Briatore is going on in his current assignment as executive advisor at Alpine. Habitual line stepper, breaks and bends the rules without compunction. That's who Fabio Briatore is now, and that's who he was then. Crashgate 2008 Singapore, which you understand what Fabio Briatore has come to represent, and they hired him as Benetton's guy. Benetton were a clothing manufacturer. Do you know what I mean? Fashion was their business, and they decided that they were going to buy an F1 team and make Fabio Briatore the head of it, team principal. Have at it, Fabio Briatore, and of course that led to chaos all over the shop, stealing Michael Schumacher from under the nose of Eddie Jordan, RIP. Here, though, somebody's made a film on it, and I think the film's going to be gangbusters. It will put the F1 movie to shame. I don't care what anybody wants to say or how many $600 million the F1 movies gross, especially when you watch this trailer. Chat, roll the clip.
Uno non puoi entrare in punta di piedi, soprattutto se vuoi scriverne la storia.
Le regole sono fatte per essere cambiate e loro l'hanno capito prima degli altri.
That's when the new chapter began.
I think the linking of Formula One and the Benetton fashion was a genius idea.
Chi fa la Formula 1 pensa che solo chi capisce di Formula 1 può fare la Formula 1.
Un fabbricante di automobili perdeva contro un fabbricante di calze, mutande e maglioni. Era una roba che lui non poteva accettare.
There were new kids on the block. They were colourful, prepared to take whatever risk they needed to take.
Ci eravamo fatti notare, quindi voleva dire che ci avrebbero guardato più da vicino.
And it was really tense times, but we didn't realize just how tense it would become.
Molti accusarono Benetton di barare.
Every race there seemed to be some dramatic element added to this narrative.
Vedo un nome che non avevo mai visto prima, Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher non lo conosceva nessuno, chiariamo questo.
Si inizia a pensare che la sua preda è il campione del mondo.
This was his biggest dream and he knew he had a chance.
Quando si riscriverà la storia della Formula 1 non si può non tener presente la rivoluzione che ha portato Benetton dentro.
Formula 1 non può entrare.
When? Inject it into my veins now. I want to see that now. It's filled. It's got everything right. The personality, the drama. I just want it. Fabio and Michael, and it's chaos. Line stepping, and it's F1, a quintessential F1 story if ever you knew what, and I want to watch it. When is it coming out? Inject it into my veins. Take all of my money, I will pay for it. Do you know what I mean? This isn't one that I'm going to stream after the fact on Netflix like the F1 movie. No, I have to watch that, and I have to watch it now because that's a proper F1 story. Martin, you're an absolute legend. Just wanted to show my appreciation. Been watching for a while now, since about 5k subs. Love the quality content. Martin, that warms my heart, man, to see the day one has come back into the 4 and Ferrari. Go on and let me tell you. I just want to watch that. As soon as I see that, I'm just distracted. It's Flavio and it's Michael and it's F1 and it's Jos Verstappen and it's the fire in the garage and it's like, oh, give it to me. Inject it into my veins. 2 more things I need to go. In fact, 3 more things. Let's talk about Carlos Sainz because he got his penalty overturned, did he? And quite rightfully. How very dare they give that dude a penalty? And penalty points, by the way, by dint of his interaction with Liam Lawson. What did he do? Let's talk about the FIA quickly as we set the scene. The FIA are nothing if not consistently inconsistent. I understand that's an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms, but the prevailing sentiment rings true. They had the opportunity in 2021 to learn, to develop, to continuously improve. But since then, they've done nothing of the sort. You could argue that they've even regressed. Most recently, you saw Austria 1300 track infringement, the track limit infringements. What? And you had to investigate them all after the fact. What do we do? This makes no sense. This makes no sense. Ipso facto, they've regressed, for Pete's sake. Why? How? Nonsense. Mohammed Ben Sulayem is Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Hopefully Tim May can do something in the December elections, but I doubt it. You'll forgive me and my pessimism as far as FIA things, and thinking for a second that they're going to correct for this. I mean, is Santa Claus going to come down my chimney this year and deliver me some Christmas presents? I think not. I think this is the way that the FIA are going to stay until Mohammed Ben Sulayem gets rid of himself, until he leaves the position. I think he's going to run, and I think he's going to run, and I think he's going to win. Oh, and by the way, if he runs and wins, do you think anything's going to change? When he's out there trotting out pictures of him alongside Max Mosley and Prince Andrew to celebrate the anniversary of the Bahrain Grand Prix. What are we doing here? This makes no sense. We are not rappers. Jewelrygate. Conflict of interest. Susie, what are we doing here? A gazillion people have been hired and fired. Private jets all over the world, and expensing it out to the FIA, and then in the bloody statements, the annual ones talking about sustainability. There are too many threads here at which we could pull in the name of hypocrisy, incompetence, ineptitude, fiduciary malfeasance, alleged. Like, what do we do? It's nonsense. It's bonkers. And an institution stinks from the head down. And that's why I keep arguing, advocating for them to get rid of Mohammed Ben Sulayem. But I mean, this wouldn't be the conversation that we'd be having if, again, they managed to do what they're there to do. They are the regulatory body of Formula 1. This is techie, chat. Just make sure you get your arms around it then, like Jean Todt used to. Do you know what I mean? Make sure you institute for the rules in a way that's true and fair across all related parties, safeguarding levelling of the competitive landscape. But they make every mistake wherever they have the opportunity. And in this instance, it was Carlos Sainz and Liam Lawson. For once, though, maybe they're worthy of praise because they've overturned it. Here's how the report reads. Stewards rescind Carlos Sainz's penalty points from Sandford after a review. So he's still got penalised. Do you know what I mean? But the penalty points on his super licence have been rescinded. Point 28 says this: the decision, having considered the matter extensively, why extensively? A blind Stevie Wonder could see that he didn't deserve anything that Liam Lawson just washed into his car. What are you talking about here? Extensively consider it. What are you on about? And having reviewed the new video evidence. What new video evidence? Everybody saw the footage while the race was on in real time. What are they talking about? This is nonsense. New video evidence and heard from the drivers of both cars and their team representatives. The stewards determined to rescind the decision. The stewards agree with Williams' characterization of the collision as a racing incident. I don't even know why this is. Is this so difficult? Is this calculus, theory of relative? Like, what are we doing? Are we trying to solve for Fermat's last theorem? I don't think we are, because every man and their dog saw what happened between Carlos Sainz and Liam Lawson. If you had some sensible stewards, if you had a decent racing director, RIP Charlie Whiting for Pete's sake, then you would know this. The stewards, continues this document, are satisfied that the collision was caused by a momentary loss by car 30. No flipping kidding, Sherlock. How? What? Yeah? How did you not see this? Oh, the humanity. Just when I thought I was out of the FIA purgatory, they bring me back in. I thought they were making a good decision, but this document only highlights the ineptitude of the wrong decision, the extent of it in the first place. The stewards are satisfied that the collision was caused by a momentary loss of car 30, Liam Lawson's. However, in the stewards' assessment, no driver was wholly or predominantly to blame. Well, just a little bit, mate. What about loss of control? No driver was wholly or predominantly to blame for that collision. Car 55 contributed to the incident by taking the risk to drive close to and on the outside of car 30 when car 55 had no right to room there and was and there was a real possibility that if the collision had not occurred where it did, car 55 would run out of behave. This is techie. I don't think they like Carlos Sainz Jr. Something tells me, I smell a rat. Something tells me that this may or may not have something to do with the fact that Carlos Sainz Sr. wanted to run once upon a time against Mohammed Ben Sulayem. This wasn't the first, right? Over the past few races, Carlos Sainz Jr. has been penalised unfairly for a couple different things. This is the latest in a long line of them. Point 30 reads, the time penalty being imposed by the decision was served by car 55 during the... This is why you don't serve these penalties, right? It's why Max is like, I'm not going to serve this. We can talk about it afterwards because it makes sense to, especially when the FIA is so bloody flaky. Stewards have no power to remedy that served time penalty by amending the classifications, but note that the gap between car 55 to the car ahead in the final classification of the race, coincidentally, car 30 was 17 seconds. The decision having been rescinded, it follows that 2 penalty points imposed on the driver of car 55 are to be removed. This is exactly why I fear for the... Oh my gosh, John says, Sir John Perry says, this is exactly why I fear for the OJP Championship. And then last time I started talking like this, Sir John, 2021, in the dying embers of it, when it became clear that the stewards were doing like... You know what I mean? Consistently inconsistent in the way they instituted for the rules. I was like, well, anybody can get it, eh? Whoever the FIA and the commercial rights holder deem is the more marketable of the two drivers, Lando Norris, aka Dustin from Stranger Things, or OJP, then potentially they might get favoured. And already I've heard Andrew Benson on the Checkered Flag Extra podcast alluding to this fact that Lando might be on the recipient of some favourite treatment already. couple of different things. Andrew Benson said this is techie. I don't want to delve into the conspiratorial talk too much, Sir John, but it's important here. A couple of different things. So in addition to what you saw last race, right, that was racing. 5.9 seconds of the pit stop can happen. Mistakes get made in the pit stop. It had nothing to do with an undercut. It had nothing. You swap them round, and Lando Norris has the same 5.9 second penalty, and the same thing happens. It had nothing to do with the undercut. The undercut didn't even give you time, so I don't know what they're talking about. OJP was right to assert in real time in the cockpit that 5.9 second slow pit stop from Lando Norris was just racing. What are we doing here? Do I need to turn off the engine to amend for the erroneous DNF that Lando had the previous round? Like, how far are you going? To what extent are we righting the wrongs of the racing gods here? To a certain extent, there will always be an X factor in F1 now. Like, why are you playing racing gods, McLaren? This makes no sense, and it doesn't sit well with F1 fans all over the world. I'm worried too, Sir John. I hadn't heard it addressed in those terms, but that reminds you of 2021 all over, right? And consistent inconsistency, but I digress. Cota boss Bobby Epstein says that Cadillac F1 next year, that they can go great guns, that potentially they won't be last on the grid. Behave yourself. Are we just talking for the sake of talking now, Bobby Epstein, the dude who owns Cota and the boss of the circuit of the Americas? What do we do there? Don't believe my lying eyes, Cam. Okay, let's go with that. Just John, that's what they're doing. So, John, I'm telling you, I think you're barking at the right tree. So I hope that you're wrong. But that sentiment reminds me exactly of 2021, particularly in the latter stages, Q4, H2. By the way, I need to tell you guys about Helmut Marko. He's come out and he's destroyed, by extension, Christian Horner. There's this growing swathe, a popular opinion about Lauren Mekies that is exactly what Oracle Red Bull Racing needed. There's been a paradigm shift. I mean, Christian Horner for me was probably bar Fabio Briatore, excuse me. Him accepted. Christian Horner felt like he was the last of a dying breed, right? An old school team principle, or at least he had the sprinkles of an old school team principle, cut from the same cloth as, I don't know, a Ron Dennis per se. Roll up his sleeves and get some things done. Bend/break some rules if need be. However, F1 feels like all of a sudden it's moving in a different direction. This is the era of the engineer come team principle. A guy or girl who has a serious F1 mind, like a 200 level race IQ. The likes of Lauren Mekies can get involved in the simulation talk. When Max Verstappen is saying, you know what, sack off that simulation nonsense. I can drive the car. I can use my internal gyroscope to leverage the car, float the rear around the apex, etc., etc. Therefore, take more rear wing out. And the engineers are saying, no, I don't think we want to do that. The simulation is telling us it needs to be this. The Lauren Mekies can defer to Maximilian Verstappen. Do you know what I mean? He can overrule the technical team. Here's what Helmut Marko says, and I think this is pertinent. Again, I feel like he's defaming the legacy that is Christian Horner. Do you know what I mean? The king is dead. Long live King Lauren Mekies. Here's what Helmut Marko said. The whole technical team is more open and they discussed things. They are not blind to what the simulator said. Bloody Nora. Was Christian Horner blind to what the simulation says? That's chaos. Helmut Marko, I did not know this, but again, he's stamping on the grave of Christian Horner per se here with these sentences, with these stanzas and monologues. Here's what he said. He continues, quote, the engineers are listening more to the driver. If you have such a fast and experienced driver, I think it's the right way. And again, this isn't the first time I'm hearing this. Ted Kravitz said that there was a departure from the past as far as Christian Horner's concerned, that at Monza they were listening more. They have been listening more to Maximilian Verstappen and relying upon that dude's not insubstantial talents. Marko continues, quote, he has to drive it and it's important that our top speed is improving. We saw we could drive away from the McLarens and also some other changes. The driver's input was recognised. So this is the new floor. This is a new way of working as far as Red Bull are concerned. Again, the king, Christian Horner, is dead. Long live King Lauren Mekies. Helmut Marko continues, quote, appointing Lauren Mekies, therefore, was the right decision. unquote, Marko told Service TV, quote, given the complexity of Formula One, having a technical expert at the top is probably the better solution. Oh, the humanity. What are we doing here, Safa? That's chaos. Never ever, I know that Helmut Marko didn't get on necessarily with Christian Horner, but never ever did I think in 2025 that I would see a period where Red Bull didn't have Christian Horner at the helm, A, and B, a period where Red Bull employees were coming out and talking about the new era in this way, couching it in such terms, such positive terms. That, ladies and gentlemen, is chaos. I just didn't think I would see that. Now Helmut Marko saying, I think it was the right decision to hire Lauren Mekies, in brackets, get rid of Christian Horner. What are we doing? It's now much more structured from a technical perspective, something that Christian Horner couldn't do then, Helmut, yeah? Is that what we're saying? And then everything works together. The driver is integrated into the process. You can see the results. The car isn't fundamentally different. But with this level of coordination, quote, we can deliver such performance. With the speed we've shown, we should hope. Oh my gosh, this is chaos. This is proper chaos. I don't even know. Go on then. Let me read this out because this is important. Helmut Marko coming out, waging war on the legacy of Christian Horner. Long live Lauren Mekies. Helmut continues, quote, with the speed we've shown, we should hopefully be able to compete on our own merit at almost every circuit. What? Huh? Hang on. I thought this was just an anomalous incident, low downforce settings at Monza. Now we come to find out that potentially this might be a paradigm shift as far as the championship is concerned. Singapore, continues Helmut Marko, quote, would be special. It's the only race we've never won. Imagine if they go and win it there. Bloody Nora. But maybe it'll work out there too. We weren't bad in Zandvoort. Verstappen finished second. We're still fine-tuning and refining things. If we can keep improving like this, that would be fantastic. The championship is gone, but a few more wins would be very nice. Oh, the humanity. Championship back on then, chat. Maximilian Verstappen, as near as makes no difference, 100 points behind in the championship. But if Helmut Marko is to be believed, it sounds like something's changed. There's been a paradigm shift at Oracle Red Bull Racing, formerly of the parish of Christian Horner. Now technical minds have the whip hand, and Lauren Mekies, according to Helmut Marko, is making the difference. Oh, the humanity. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, how do you like yourselves some F1?